The massive warship's bridge hummed with activity as Commander Azra studied the holographic projection of the blue planet below. Earth, a primitive world by Draconian standards, yet one that occupied a strategically valuable position in this sector of the galaxy. His scaled fingers traced the contours of the continents as tactical officers buzzed around him, preparing for what they all assumed would be a straightforward conquest. Preliminary scans complete, Commander, reported his first officer, standing rigidly at attention. Minimal orbital defenses detected. Their technology appears to be at least 3 centuries behind our capabilities. Azra's lips curled into what passed for a smile among his species. Excellent. The great Draconian Armada has conquered worlds far more advanced than this one. Begin deployment of scout vessels. Let us test their response capabilities before committing our main fleet. Behind him, the vast view screen showed hundreds of battleships stretching into the darkness of space, their sleek metallic hulls reflecting the distant sunlight. The Draconian Empire had expanded across 3 galaxies through precisely this kind of methodical conquest: identify, test, overwhelm, and assimilate. Earth would be no different. Commander, the communications officer called out, shall we broadcast the standard surrender message? Azra considered for a moment. No. Let them remain ignorant until we understand their defensive capabilities. If they are truly as primitive as our scans indicate, they may not even detect our presence until it's too late. Thousands of miles below, in a subterranean facility, buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, Dr. Lisa Wright jolted upright in her chair. The quantum detection array she had spent the last decade perfecting was registering anomalies near the lunar orbit. That can't be right, she muttered, adjusting her glasses and running the system diagnostic for the 3rd time. The results remained unchanged. Massive objects, hundreds of them, had appeared in near-moon space within the last hour, somehow evading detection from conventional radar and astronomical observation systems. With trembling fingers, she reached for the secure communication terminal and entered the highest priority code in the system, one she had never expected to use. This is Dr. Wright at Cheyenne Mountain Station Omega. Authorization code Sierra Tango 947. I need to speak with Major Rodriguez immediately. Protocol Starfall is in effect. I repeat, Protocol Starfall is in effect. In Washington, D.C., Major Alan Rodriguez was awakened by the urgent buzzing of his secure phone. As the Pentagon's lead strategist for extraterrestrial defense contingencies, he had spent his career preparing for a day most of his colleagues considered purely theoretical. Now, as he listened to Dr. Wright's breathless report, he felt an eerie calm settle over him. I understand, Doctor. Continue monitoring and maintain lockdown procedures. I'll convene the Emergency Response Council within the hour. He paused, then added, and Lisa, you were right all along. Your protocols were worth every penny of that black budget funding. Within 30 minutes, the most secure room beneath the White House was filled with bleary-eyed officials who had been rushed from their beds under the highest security conditions. President Eleanor Mitchell sat at the head of the table, her expression grim, as Rodriguez completed his preliminary assessment. Madam President, the Cheyenne Mountain Quantum Array has detected what appears to be a massive fleet of non-terrestrial vessels in lunar orbit. Conservative estimates put their number at around 500. They've taken up positions that suggest military formation, and their technology is unlike anything in our known inventory. How is this possible? Demanded the Secretary of Defense. NASA, Space Force, and every major observatory should have seen something this size approaching our solar system. Dr. Samantha Reeves, the nation's foremost astrophysicist, spoke up from her position near the digital display. The vessels appear to be utilizing some form of space-folding technology, essentially allowing them to appear directly at their destination without traversing the intermediate space. It's consistent with theories of quantum tunneling on a massive scale, but far beyond our current technological capabilities. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They were facing visitors with technology centuries beyond Earth's development. What are our options? President Mitchell finally asked, her voice steady, despite the extraordinary circumstance. Rodriguez stepped forward, his military bearing never more evident. Madam President, for the past 25 years, a classified international consortium has been developing defensive technologies specifically for this scenario. Operation Sentinel Shield has established lunar bases, orbital platforms, and planetary defense systems that remain invisible to conventional detection. They were designed to activate only in the event of confirmed extraterrestrial aggression. You're telling me there's been a secret space defense program operating without congressional oversight? The National Security Advisor's voice rose an octave. With all due respect, Rodriguez replied calmly, it operates with oversight from a classified congressional subcommittee and similar bodies in partner nations. The program was deemed too sensitive for wider disclosure, even within normal classified channels. The president leaned forward. What capabilities does this program give us, Major? It gives us a fighting chance, Madam President. Aboard the Draconian command vessel, Azra received the report from his scout deployment with growing confusion. 20 advanced interceptor craft had descended toward Earth's atmosphere to test the planet's defensive capabilities, expecting minimal resistance. Instead, all 20 had simultaneously lost power and were now drifting helplessly in high orbit. What happened? He demanded, pacing the command deck with agitation visible in the twitching of his scaled tail. Unknown commander. His chief engineer replied furiously, analyzing the incoming data. All systems aboard the scout vessels simply deactivated simultaneously. No damages detected, but they cannot restart their propulsion or weapon systems. Some form of electromagnetic pulse weapon. Azra suggested, his tactical mind already working through possibilities. Possibly, but far more sophisticated than anything our intelligence suggested this planet might possess. The effect was precisely targeted, affecting only our vessels, while leaving their own satellites undisturbed. Azra stared at the holographic display showing his disabled scout ships. For the first time, a flicker of uncertainty crossed his reptilian features. Recall the scout vessels using the emergency tractor beams. We need to reassess our intelligence on this planet. In Washington, the Emergency Response Council watched the real-time feed from their lunar observation posts with cautious optimism. The targeted EMP weapons had performed exactly as designed, temporarily neutralizing the alien vessels without destroying them, a measured response designed to demonstrate capability without escalating to lethal force. The Omega Protocol is working, Rodriguez explained. Phase 1 was the targeted EMP to disable their scout ships. Now we wait to see their response. And if they decide to send their entire fleet, asked the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. Then we proceed to Phase 2 and 3, Rodriguez replied grimly. But let's hope it doesn't come to that. Our goal is to establish deterrence, not start an interstellar war. Dr. Wright's voice came through on the secure channel from Colorado. Major, we're detecting energy signatures consistent with some kind of tractor technology. They're retrieving their disabled vessels. Good, Rodriguez nodded. They're reassessing. Now we need to be ready for their next move, which will likely be more substantial. The president turned to him. Explain the remaining phases of this protocol, Major. I need to understand exactly what we're capable of. Phase 2 involves our orbital defense network, specifically weaponized satellites, equipped with directed energy weapons, and what we call smart dust, microscopic programmable matter that can infiltrate and manipulate alien technology. Phase 3 activates the lunar gravity web, a massive artificial gravity manipulation system built into the far side of the moon. That's impossible, whispered the science advisor. We don't have that kind of technology. Dr. Reeves smiled thinly. We didn't 20 years ago. But with international cooperation and dedicated black budget funding, you'd be amazed what human ingenuity can accomplish when faced with existential threats. Aboard the Draconian command ship, Azra convened his war council. The disabled scout ships had been recovered and were undergoing repairs, but the implications of their failure weighed heavily on the assembled officers. Our intelligence was clearly flawed, Azra admitted. This planet has defensive capabilities far beyond what we anticipated. However, now that we understand their electromagnetic disruption technology, we can adapt our systems accordingly. His chief tactical officer, a scarred veteran of a dozen planetary conquests, leaned forward. I recommend deploying our second-tier assault force 50 vessels with modified shielding to resist electromagnetic attacks. We'll approach from multiple vectors to divide their defensive capabilities. Azra nodded slowly. Agreed. But maintain our main fleet in reserve until we've properly assessed their full defensive capabilities. I sense there is more to these humans than meets the eye. Hours later, 50 Draconian warships, their hulls now reinforced with specialized shielding against electromagnetic interference, descended toward Earth in a carefully planned formation designed to overwhelm any planetary defense system by sheer distribution of targets. In the White House Situation Room, Rodriguez watched the approaching formation with grim determination. They've adapted to the EMP as expected. Time for Phase 2. Dr. Reeves, please activate the orbital defense network. Dr. Reeves nodded and transmitted the encrypted command sequence to hidden facilities around the world. In orbit, seemingly ordinary communication satellites suddenly reconfigured, revealing concealed weapons platforms. At the same time, countless microscopic particles, the smart dust, were released into the paths of the approaching alien vessels. Smart dust deployed, reported Dr. Reeves. Targeting systems locked on all 50 approaching vessels. The president leaned forward, tension evident in every line of her body. What exactly does this smart dust do, Dr.? It's programmable matter, Madam President, microscopic machines capable of infiltrating electronic systems through the smallest openings and manipulating them from within. Once inside the alien vessels, they'll analyze the technology and then exploit any vulnerabilities they discover. On the Draconian vessels, confusion quickly turned to alarm as critical systems began failing in unpredictable ways. Navigation controls reversed weapon systems, targeted their own ships, and communication channels broadcast gibberish. Simultaneously, brilliant flashes of light erupted from Earth's orbit, targeted energy beams that precisely struck the propulsion systems of any ship that managed to maintain control despite the smart dust infiltration. What is happening? Roared Azra, as reports of chaos among the second deployment flooded the command center. How are they doing this? His technology chief, normally unflappable, appeared genuinely disturbed. Commander, they're using some form of infiltration technology we've never encountered before. Microscopic machines are physically invading our systems and reprogramming them from within. And those energy weapons, they're precisely targeted to our vulnerabilities, suggesting an intimate knowledge of our technology. Azra's mind raced. Could the Empire's intelligence have been so catastrophically wrong, or was there something more sinister at work? He made a swift decision. Deploy the main fleet, all 300 vessels. Overwhelm their defenses with sheer numbers. No primitive species should be able to counter an assault of that magnitude, regardless of what technological surprises they may have developed. The massive Draconian Armada slowly moved into attack formation, the massive battleships and destroyers arranging themselves into the Empire's traditional conquest pattern, an overwhelming display of force designed to shatter any resistance through sheer intimidation. In the Situation Room, the atmosphere grew tense as the main Draconian fleet began to move. They're committing their primary forces, Rodriguez observed. This is the moment of truth. Dr. Reeves, is the lunar gravity web ready? Fully charged and operational, Major, awaiting your command. Rodriguez looked to the president, who nodded gravely. Activate Phase 3. On the far side of the moon, invisible to Earth and conventional observation, a network of massive generators that had been constructed in secrecy over decades hummed to life. The technology, developed through international cooperation and reverse-engineered from fragments of alien technology recovered from past incursions, was Earth's ultimate defensive weapon, a system capable of manipulating the very fabric of gravitational fields over vast distances. As the Draconian fleet approached Earth orbit, their vessels suddenly found themselves unable to maneuver. Invisible forces gripped the massive ships, holding them in place as effectively as if they had been encased in concrete. Propulsion systems strained against the artificial gravitational field to no avail. Aboard the command ship, Azra watched in disbelief as his entire fleet became immobilized, trapped in space by forces he couldn't comprehend. "What is this?" he demanded. "Some form of tractor beam technology on this scale." Before his officers could respond, the main communication screen activated, showing a human face, Major Rodriguez, sitting calmly at a conference table, surrounded by other humans in military and scientific attire. "Attention, Draconian fleet." Rodriguez spoke, his voice translated perfectly into the Draconian language. "This is Major Alan Rodriguez of Earth's Unified Defense Command. Your vessels are currently held in a gravitational containment field. Any attempt to fire weapons or break free will result in the field compressing, which would crush your ships. I suggest we discuss terms." The command deck fell silent as Azra stared at the human face on the screen. "How?" he began, but couldn't finish the question. There were too many impossibilities to address. Rodriguez continued. "We've been aware of the Draconian Empire's expansion for some time. Your conquest of the Centauri systems was particularly noteworthy. We've had ample opportunity to study your technology, tactics, and vulnerabilities." "Impossible," Azra finally managed. "Earth is an isolated world. You have barely achieved rudimentary space travel." A slight smile crossed Rodriguez's face. "That's what we wanted you to believe. Earth's apparent technological level is a carefully maintained facade. We learned long ago that appearing weak is sometimes the best defense against empires like yours. It encourages overconfidence and tactical errors." He gestured, and the view changed to show the far side of the moon, where massive installations were now revealed, a sprawling complex of technologies far beyond what the Draconian intelligence had suggested humans could achieve. "This is just one of our defensive installations," Rodriguez explained. "We have others throughout our solar system. The electromagnetic pulse that disabled your scout ships, the smart dust that infiltrated your second wave, and now the gravity web holding your main fleet. These are merely our first-tier defensive systems." Azra fought to maintain his composure, his mind racing to reassess everything he thought he knew about this planet. "If what you say is true, why not simply destroy our fleet? Why reveal yourselves now?" "Because unlike the Draconian Empire, we prefer diplomacy to conquest when possible," Rodriguez replied evenly. "We're giving you a choice, Commander Azra. You can order your fleet to withdraw from our solar system peacefully, or we can demonstrate our more aggressive capabilities." The use of his name sent a chill through Azra's scaled body. How much did these humans truly know? As if reading his thoughts, Dr. Wright appeared on screen beside Rodriguez. "We've been monitoring your communications since you entered our solar system, Commander. Your encryption was impressive, but not impenetrable. We know your mission parameters and the expectations of your superiors." The implications were staggering. If humans could neutralize the Empire's technology so effectively and had managed to create the illusion of technological backwardness, what other capabilities might they possess? Before Azra could formulate a response, alarms blared throughout his command ship. "Commander," his security chief called out urgently. "We're detecting weapons activation aboard vessels in the secondary command group." "I gave no such order," Azra snapped. On the communication screen, Rodriguez's expression remained calm. "It appears you have dissension in your ranks, Commander. Several of your captains seem to be preparing to fire on your command vessel." Azra's eyes narrowed. "How would you know this?" "As Dr. Wright mentioned, we've been monitoring your communications, including some rather interesting encrypted exchanges between members of your fleet who appear to believe your leadership has failed. They're planning to eliminate you and take command to salvage this mission." The security chief confirmed the report seconds later. "Commander Admiral Vex's battle group is charging weapons and targeting our command vessel. They're broadcasting on a restricted channel that you've been compromised." Azra's mind worked furiously, calculating options. If he ordered the fleet to fire on the rogue vessels, it could trigger a civil war within his forces, exactly the kind of chaos that would benefit the humans. If he did nothing, the rebels might succeed in eliminating him. As if sensing his dilemma, Rodriguez spoke again. "Commander Azra, we have no desire to see your fleet destroy itself in internal conflict. As a show of good faith, we can temporarily disable the weapon systems on the rebellious vessels. This would give you time to reassert control and consider our offer of peaceful withdrawal." The offer was simultaneously humiliating and tempting. To accept help from a species he had come to conquer went against everything the Empire stood for. And yet the alternative seemed worse, losing control of his fleet entirely. "Why would you assist me?" Azra asked suspiciously. "Because we prefer to negotiate with a single authority rather than faction leaders," Rodriguez replied pragmatically. "And because we believe you're intelligent enough to recognize when continued aggression is futile. Your subordinates may not share that quality." After a moment of tense deliberation, Azra nodded sharply. "Very well. Disable their weapons." Rodriguez gave a signal to someone off-screen, and moments later, Azra's tactical display showed the weapon systems on the rebellious vessels powering down. "The smart dust we deployed earlier remains within all your ship's systems," Rodriguez explained. "We've simply activated its secondary protocols on the targeted vessels." Taking advantage of the opportunity, Azra quickly issued orders. "Target Admiral Vex's command ship. Fire a warning shot across their bow." His weapons officer complied, and a precision energy beam lanced out, deliberately missing Vex's ship by a narrow margin, a clear demonstration that the command vessel remained combat-capable despite the gravitational containment affecting movement. "Open a channel to all vessels," Azra commanded. When the communication officer signaled readiness, he drew himself up to his full, impressive height. "This is Commander Azra. I am aware of the treasonous communications and attempted mutiny by Admiral Vex and his supporters. Their weapons have been neutralized, and they will face imperial justice for their actions. Any vessel that joins this rebellion will be considered an enemy of the Empire." He paused, letting the threat sink in, then continued. "We face an unexpected tactical situation. The humans have demonstrated defensive capabilities far beyond our intelligence assessments. I am initiating diplomatic contact to reassess our approach. Any captain who questions these orders may join Admiral Vex in the brig upon our return to Imperial space." The communication closed, and Azra turned back to the screen, showing Rodriguez and the Earth delegation. "Your intervention was timely. However, this changes nothing about our fundamental positions. The Draconian Empire does not retreat." Rodriguez nodded thoughtfully. "We understand pride is at stake, Commander. Perhaps we can find a middle path. We propose a diplomatic exchange, a delegation from Earth to visit your command ship, and representatives from your fleet to meet with our leadership. We can discuss potential areas of cooperation that might benefit both our peoples, without requiring either side to submit to the other." It was a face-saving offer, a way for Azra to report to his superiors that he had established diplomatic relations with a previously unknown advanced civilization, rather than admitting defeat. The alternative was to risk his fleet in a battle against technologies he clearly didn't understand, potentially losing everything. "I will consider your proposal," Azra replied carefully. "Release a portion of my fleet from your gravitational field as a demonstration of good faith, and I will guarantee safe passage for your delegates." Rodriguez conferred briefly with President Mitchell and the others before responding. "We'll release 30 vessels of your choosing from the gravitational containment, excluding any from Admiral Vex's battle group. Your main command ship will remain under partial constraint until our delegates confirm their safe arrival and treatment." The negotiations continued for hours with both sides, carefully establishing the parameters for initial diplomatic contact. Meanwhile, on Earth, governments around the world were being briefed on the situation unfolding above them, the existence of both the alien Armada and humanity's secret space defense program becoming known to civilian leadership for the first time. Public announcement was still being debated, with many leaders arguing that humanity wasn't ready for the twin shocks of learning about advanced alien civilizations and discovering that their own governments had been developing space-based weapon systems in secret for decades. 3 days later, a small Earth vessel docked with the Draconian command ship. Major Rodriguez led the delegation, accompanied by Dr. Wright, Dr. Reeves, and several other key figures from Earth's defense and scientific communities. They were escorted under heavy guard to a massive conference chamber, where Azra awaited with his senior officers, those still loyal after the attempted mutiny. "Welcome aboard the Imperial flagship Dominion," Azra greeted them formally. "You stand on the sovereign territory of the Draconian Empire, the most powerful civilization in 3 galaxies." Rodriguez bowed slightly, a calculated gesture of respect without submission. "We are honored by your hospitality, Commander Azra. Earth extends greetings and hopes for productive discussions." The initial exchanges were tense, filled with careful diplomatic language that masked the underlying power struggle. But as hours stretched into days, a surprising rapport began to develop. The humans demonstrated extensive knowledge of cosmic geography and interspecies relations that impressed even the most skeptical Draconian officers. For their part, the Draconians eventually acknowledged the impressive technological achievements Earth had managed to conceal from outside observation. "Your gravity manipulation technology particularly interests us," Azra admitted during one session. "The Empire has researched similar applications, but never achieved the precision you've demonstrated." Dr. Reeves smiled. "And we're fascinated by your space-folding transportation system. The ability to move entire fleets across vast distances without traversing the intermediate space would revolutionize our exploration capabilities." Gradually, the conversation shifted from thinly veiled threats to genuine exploration of mutual interests. Earth had no expansionist ambitions, but sought to protect its sovereignty and gain access to advanced space travel technologies. The Draconian Empire, while fundamentally imperialistic, recognized the potential value in an alliance with a civilization that had developed along such different technological paths. 1 week after the first contact, the Draconian fleet began a coordinated withdrawal to the edge of the solar system. Not a retreat, Azra insisted to his superiors, but a strategic repositioning to establish a diplomatic outpost. Earth released all remaining vessels from the gravitational containment as a reciprocal gesture of trust. Azra himself volunteered to remain behind as the first Draconian ambassador to Earth, a position that allowed him to save face, while also satisfying his growing curiosity about human civilization. His decision was also pragmatic. He had seen firsthand what human defenses could do, and he harbored no illusions about the outcome of continued hostilities. 2 months later, a historic ceremony took place at United Nations headquarters in New York. Before representatives from every nation on Earth, Commander Azra and President Mitchell signed the Earth-Draconian Technical Cooperation Treaty. The agreement established formal diplomatic relations, created a framework for scientific and technological exchange, and most importantly, recognized Earth's solar system as sovereign territory off-limits to imperial expansion. In exchange for sharing defensive technologies that had impressed the Draconian military, Earth would receive assistance in developing true interstellar travel capabilities, allowing humanity to explore the galaxy without fearing conquest from previously unknown civilizations. Today marks not the end of our separate journeys, but the beginning of a shared path, President Mitchell declared in her address. What began as potential conflict has transformed into an opportunity for both our species to grow and learn from one another. Azra, standing tall in his ceremonial armor, addressed the assembly next. The Draconian Empire has existed for 12,000 years, expanding through conquest and assimilation. Today, we embrace a new approach: partnership. Your world has taught us that true strength sometimes lies in restraint, and that appearances can be deceiving. These are valuable lessons. 6 months after the Armada's arrival, the first joint Earth-Draconian vessel prepared for launch from a newly constructed facility in orbit. The ship incorporated technologies from both civilizations, human gravity manipulation and material sciences, merged with Draconian propulsion and navigation systems. On the observation deck of the International Space Station, Major Rodriguez stood beside Azra, watching as the experimental craft prepared for its maiden voyage. "Did you ever imagine this outcome when you led your fleet into our system?" Rodriguez asked quietly. Azra's scaled lips curled into what humans now recognized as a smile. "Never. I expected conquest or perhaps defeat. I never considered partnership." "Sometimes the best victories come without firing a shot," Rodriguez replied. As the joint vessel activated its engines and disappeared into the depth of space, opening a new chapter in both human and Draconian history, Rodriguez couldn't help but reflect on how close they had come to devastating conflict. Earth's carefully maintained illusion of technological backwardness had given them the element of surprise when it mattered most, but it was the willingness to extend a hand rather than clench a fist that had ultimately transformed enemies into allies. The Draconian Armada had arrived ready for conquest, but never managed to land on the primitive Earth they thought they were subjugating. Instead, they found equals worthy of respect, and in that recognition, both civilizations found a better path forward than either could have achieved alone. Aboard the newly launched joint vessel, human and Draconian crew members worked side by side, their initial awkwardness giving way to professional collaboration. Captain Eliza Chen, the human commanding officer, studied the star charts with her Draconian counterpart, plotting the ship's course to a neutral system where representatives from other spacefaring civilizations awaited. Earth was about to make its formal debut on the galactic stage, not as conquerors or the conquered, but as innovators who had earned their place among the stars through ingenuity and wisdom. The Draconian Empire, meanwhile, had gained not another subjugated world, but a partner whose different perspective promised to enrich imperial culture and technology. As the ship accelerated to light speed, the stars blurred into streaks of light, carrying the joint crew toward a future neither civilization could have imagined mere months before proof that even the most entrenched patterns could be broken when courage and vision prevailed over tradition and force. The universe, it seemed, was vast enough for many approaches to coexist. And sometimes, the most primitive response was the one that relied solely on weapons, while true advancement came through recognition of shared potential. This lesson learned at the brink of conflict would shape relations between Earth and the Draconian Empire for generations to come, a testament to the power of unexpected solutions and the capacity for growth that defined both species at their best.